Good evening, guys. Thank you for the very kind words during the introduction. I'm still wondering. That statement about I didn't write anything down is partly true because every time I come up here or upstage anywhere to be in front of all of you, I still get a little stressed. I'm not a professional speaker. I don't do enough training to have the ability to just come up and say all the right things. Like some of your B partners, even some AVPs are fantastic. They're all fantastic, actually. But it takes, for me, it takes a lot of thinking. And that's what I had to do the whole day, because I take this job very seriously. I take your future, I take your vision, I take your life, our responsibility in helping you succeed very seriously. Firstly, let me wish all of you all a Happy New Year. For those who don't know me, I am VP Kuna Senathirajah. Okay, I have two very famous brothers. I'm sure you know who they are. But more than that, I am the group MD for the QI group. And I have the founders, especially Dato Sri Vijay, who guided, mentored, and trusted me with this role. So I take all my roles very seriously because they were entrusted to me by our founders, our visionaries. And basically, thank you. And basically, the vision has not changed, guys. The vision by our founders, the vision by the V partners has always been to empower you to help you change the course of your life. You're already living your life, guys. We all know that. You know, some of you all are already doing well, you know, but we're just here to figure out whether we can do things better, whether we can create a better future for you, for your family, for all of us. And that's why we take our work, we take this role very seriously, simply because it is important work that we do, you know, and there's a lot of people out there who put in a lot of hard work to make this happen. I mean, a lot of people are still on holidays, but over Christmas and New Year's, a group of people were working to put this event together, for instance, and it's called Ignite. You know, it's meant to give you a head start. You know, while everybody is still holidaying, you know, it gives you a head start to plan 2026. Are we going to make 2026 a good year? No. We're going to make it a great year. Okay, 2026 is going to be a great year because some of us decided that it's time. Now, I think you've heard a lot of information already. You've gotten a lot of information. You've heard many speakers share their thoughts, and you've had 2 days of great content in your mind, you know. But I just wanted to come and maybe share some of my experience, share some thoughts I've had, and you know, it's always important for you to keep updated. It's always important for you to keep information, get the latest information, you know, and that means you got to go look for it sometimes. You know, of course, now we live in the era of AI. So whenever you have a question that pops up in your head, you put it into your chat GPT, and you will get a very powerful answer, you know. But, you know, it's still very important to ask the right questions. You know, and the biggest problem we have is we tend to not want to know the truth sometimes. You know, it's only natural. You know, we live in something called a comfort zone. Most of us, all of us used to be there. Excuse me. But what's happening today is something that they said would happen 30 years ago. You know, 3 decades ago, everyone said that, you know, automation was going to kill jobs. Robotics was going to kill jobs. You know, the new industrialization phase in the world is going to change the way we do things. You know, all the jobs that we are used to will not be there. But it was partly true. But a lot of people just survived. A lot of people worked hard, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. They made a career. They were reasonably successful. They all had a good life. I mean, let's face it. You know, the generation that started the workforce 30 years ago had it very good. They had it better than their parents, you know. And if if your goal is to have a life better than your parents, and you want your children to have a life better than yours, what you're probably doing now is going to be enough. But if you want something totally different, if you want to make that leap, if you want a generation to make a leap, you know, and to create something that you didn't think was possible, you need to really think out of the box. And that's why a lot of people today are questioning this whole concept, whether or not work the way we worked the last 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, the last 5 years, is going to exist in the next 5, 10, 15 years. You know, if you think about it, things are already changing. You can see it. The way AI is moving, the way information is moving, the way technology is moving, is exciting, but it's pretty scary at the same time. You know, it kind of forces you to wake up, forces you to pay attention. All right? Because what's happening right now is everybody's asking questions. They're asking, how can I do things better, faster, cheaper? You know, a lot of businesses realize that if they don't change, they will not last. They will not be around, you know. Now, if companies and business leaders are asking this question, that means it will impact millions of people. Now, that's always been something that has been said for many, many years. But this time, if you look around, it's already happening. You know, a lot of countries are very concerned with unemployment. If unemployment is a major issue, unemployment with the youth of the country is a bigger issue. When young people don't have work and they do not know how to create wealth for themselves and be independent, that means the country has a problem with their future. You know, so that's really what's happening right now. And if you think about it, guys, a lot of people are beginning to look at options. They're looking at their options. They're keeping their minds open. You know, they're asking questions. And this actually creates a fantastic opportunity. It creates a fantastic opportunity for our profession. What do we do? You know, a long time ago, I used to hear people say, I don't want to be in sales. I don't want to be a salesman. And I used to say that as well, you know, because I kind of didn't think selling was such a great profession. I thought if you only became a salesman if you couldn't do anything else, you know. But if you think about it, guys, every successful person around the world today is a very powerful salesperson. You know, let it be whether he's a CEO, he's a founder, he's an entrepreneur, you know, because at the end of the day, what we have today, we have so many great things, so many great innovations, so many great inventions, so many great companies. And it was all started by people who sold an idea. You know, now does that make all these people salesmen and women? Or does it make them someone who can communicate and share a vision and convince someone else to basically do the same? You know? So if you think about it, a salesman from a traditional point of view has been someone who sold a product or a service, and that's the end of the relationship, right? You do the sale and you celebrate. You know, you've seen that many times. But if you think about it, what we do, what a networker does, what a network marketing professional does, or what an entrepreneur in network marketing does, is the minute he sells a product, his work starts, his relationship starts. He starts on a journey with you, you know? And most networkers, most serious, committed networkers take this responsibility very seriously, you know? And I know people, I know uplines who will work harder, sleep less, take no holidays in order to make sure that their downlines succeed. You know, it's that kind of dedication that takes these people to succeed. Now, they always give me this role of talking about jobs, trends, technology, simply because they think I'm a corporate person. And if you ask me whether I like being known as a corporate person, I don't, okay? Because it just sounds bad, you know, that I am a corporate person, you know. But if you ask my two brothers, they will tell you that I was the original networker, the OG, you know. But eventually, I was called in to take on certain roles which I had to say yes to. And today, the equation is a little bit different. But if you think about it, success is, there's no lines defining success. Doesn't mean a successful businessman, successful entrepreneur, successful networker, successful athlete, successful corporate person. The ingredients of that success is the same. The ingredients that you need, the characteristics that you have to acquire, okay? The kind of hard work, the goal setting, the dream that you have to build are all the same. A lot of successful corporate people will tell you that they worked day and night. They worked 20 hours a day, you know, to be where they are today. And there are many corporate people who went up that ladder. You know some of them. You know, the CEO of Google, a pure corporate man, Sundar Pichai, is a billionaire. You know? The only problem that differentiates a corporate person to a networker is that you don't control when you get to go up the ladder. You still have to depend on a few people. Coming back to our business, the business of network marketing, it's purely in your hands. Now, that's also a downside. The downside means you control everything. Now, it's sometimes giving you full control is not a good thing. You know, it's like, you know, like letting a 12-year-old kid and give him the car keys and say you can drive the car. You know, it's, are you really prepared to take charge of your own lives? Okay? And if you are, great. If you are not, it's your life that you're driving. You know? So you got to actually be a very fast learner. And most people gain control of their lives very early, by some chance. They basically get thrown into the work life. They didn't decide that they were not going to study more. They were maybe not prepared. Sometimes it's circumstances. Not everyone was born with a silver spoon. Most of us, including me and my two brothers, we came from very simple backgrounds. And sometimes not everybody can get a degree and a MBA. But sometimes you're thrown into the work life, and it's not all of us don't have connections. We don't have a background which allows us to succeed in the corporate world with strings to pull, Now, all that matters sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, because in the corporate world, decisions are made for you, part of the journey, But in this business, in the business of networking, everything goes back to how much you want to work and how much you want to achieve. Now, that's a very powerful thing to have. Now, it's going to become much more powerful simply because being an entrepreneur means you decide everything. No one gets to tell you where to sit. No one gets to tell you when you can take a day off. No one gets to tell you which hospital to go to if your kids or your parents are not well. And no one gets to tell you anything. Now, that's rare. That's something a lot of people in this world don't have. It's some sort of freedom, guys. It's some sort of freedom that most people dream of. I've seen some of your leaders. I've met them while they're traveling. The life that they have today is something I would not have dreamt of. I would not have thought we would all be in Rome celebrating Dato Sri's birthday. It's unthinkable. It was unthinkable 20 years ago. But today, we are living that life simply because we all made the right decision. It wasn't easy. Some of us were forced to make the decision. Some of us were pushed. Some of us were hammered into shape. I heard this concept of hammering. And a lot of us were dragged into a world of success. And that's what is going to be required. That's what we will all be required to do if we're going to basically survive the next 10 years. I'm not even talking 25 years anymore, guys, simply because it's going to be difficult to even see beyond 5 years. The world is changing so fast. The landscape out there, the world of technology, the world of AI, robotics. Too many words, guys, are changing. Every month, one of our IT heads were telling me. One of our head of IT is early 30s. He's probably one of the smartest guys we have. And he was saying that something that took him 3 weeks to do is now taking him 2 hours to do. Something that took him 3 weeks to do is now taking 2 hours to do. All right? And he said that after he completed that task in 2 hours, he found another software that could help him cut that time by 50%. That means that same project that took him 2 hours, will now take him 1 hour. Now that's the world we live in. He is shocked. He's an IT guy. You know, he's a smart IT guy. He's a technology guy who understands what AI is. And he's seeing that change. He's excited because, you know, some of these guys are so excited about the world today simply because it's providing them with so many tools to create things that otherwise you would need 10 people, 20 people to do. Now one person can do it. Now I've met kids, I've met 15-year-old kids, okay, who get to do their homework faster. That's scary. You know, some kids were telling me that they went for a school interview. You know, sometimes when you send your kids to school, some schools require to interview your kids before they get into the school. What is this world coming to, guys? You know, kids need to be interviewed to get into school. You know, and I'm telling you, this kid told me that he used an AI application to learn all the questions that was going to be asked and how he should answer it for this school interview. He was moving countries, so he came to Malaysia and he basically needed to pass an interview with his new school, and he used an AI application to get all the answers to the questions that were asked. And I was sitting back and thinking, my God, are they that advanced now, children? But that's the truth, guys. You know, Devaraj was telling me about his son. His son is building robots and winning awards, winning international awards. You know, and Devaraj's son goes to a pretty simple school. He's not a 5-star private school, you know. But that's how advanced kids are today, guys. You know, and believe me, we are going to see change. We're going to see change that we've found it very hard to imagine. You know, so it's very important for you to sit back for a few minutes and decide that whether is it safe to entrust your future into somebody else's hands. Is it, you know, because a lot of these corporate companies, right, have very different objectives. You know, they want to make profits, they want to pay dividends to their shareholders, and sometimes if the business doesn't grow, one way of making profit is to cut costs. You know, and guess what? You are. In most corporate companies, salaries is a cost. It's an overhead, which sometimes it's the biggest overhead, and it can be reduced. Employees can be replaced, you know. But guys, some of y'all are probably very success-minded. You know, some of y'all are great. I mean, to think that somebody like Sundar Pichai can come from India, Tamil Nadu, and rise to such a powerful position is impressive, you know. And there's so many examples of simple kids growing up to be great CEOs, you know. But those stories are fantastic. But there's also a lot of people who go down that road and end up with nothing much to show. And I think you know people around you. You know there are a lot of people around you who are still struggling, okay, who need a chance to take charge of their own lives. So if anything, start this year with some great decisions. You know, you have an opportunity in your hands right now. We're not a perfect company, guys. By far, we're not a perfect company. But we've got one major personality trait. We're a bunch of people who don't give up. You know, I mean, that is a skill. Not giving up is a skill that it's not exclusive to anybody, but it can be developed. I was taught that skill, because I watched people around me. I had an upline who never gave up on me. And you will find that person who will never give up on you, which in turn will give you the power, will give you that ability to never give up. Now, that's all that's required, really. This business is not about super skills. This business is not about ability to give great speeches. It's not the ability, it's not about having any special abilities. It's about having that simple skill of not giving up. Which is sometimes, you think about it, you need to be dumb enough not to give up. I was dumb enough not to give up, because believe me, many people said this won't work. Many people said that this dream will never come true. There are enough people to kill your dreams, but you need to be dumb enough to not give up. And you will be successful. You will achieve what needs to be achieved. And I'm not suggesting you go out there and get a brand new car. I'm not suggesting, you need to have different holidays and buy big houses. That's not the only thing that success gets you. What success gets you is, most importantly, the ability for you to decide. Success gives you the ability for you to make decisions for your family, okay? Decisions that you think is best for them. Success gives you a sense of freedom, which is reserved for that small 1%. And I used to say this, I used to say this, that, in our business, to make $100,000 a year, okay, is very achievable. $100,000 a year, if you do the numbers, you'll realize it's a small weekly check, But $100,000 a year will put you in the top 1% of almost every country in the world. Top 1%, guys. So don't look down on people who make $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year will put you in the top 1%. But the problem with this business is, the minute you start making 100,000, okay, it requires a little bit more effort for you to double that income. And it needs a little bit more effort to triple that income. So you decide whether you can really take the risk, because times have changed. 30 years ago, some people waited to see what actually happened. And some of them made it in life, some didn't make it so well, But today, things are very different. I don't think you can take that risk anymore. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little negative, but what I'm saying is, the world is getting tougher. You need to make that decision. We're here. We've got places to go. 2026 is going to be the greatest year for the V, for QNet. We're going to make it happen, because we don't know how to give up. We only know one thing. We only know how to basically build dreams, work with people, work hard, and we will make it happen, guys. I look forward to seeing you at the end of this year. I'm excited, because I believe 2026 will give us all the opportunities we need. It'll give us a lot of reasons, a lot of headaches, a lot of problems, but to be honest, guys, I do enjoy the problems and headaches, because I know we have leaders We have leaders in corporate, we have leaders in the network, okay, who can handle it. Thank you very much, guys. Wishing you all the very, very best. Happy New Year once again. Thank you.